lights, they'll replace them, but you have to fill out the form.
Let's listen to what the gentleman has to say here. Is that the end of your report?
That's it, that's all I have to say for that.
I'd like to thank the mayor for touching base with our treasurer and taking care of the Sam's number forms. I appreciate you doing that. I thought that was done 2 months ago, but apparently not. So thank you so much for doing that.
It was done, but I haven't resubmitted the letter. It's a very frustrating process.
Yes, thank you. I know it is.
I changed up the order just a little bit because Henry Sidlow would like to give a short presentation, and then I wanted to give the citizens an opportunity to speak after we see the road, the streetlight feasibility study presentation. There's empty seats here. If anybody would like to come in and have a seat, I can see there's a few there. I appreciate that y'all came out for this presentation. But first, let's bring Henry Sidlow up. Go ahead, stand up there. Yep.
Where's the empty set?
My name is Henry Sidlow. I am a Life Scout of the Boy Scout Troop 495, and I would like to become an Eagle Scout. So one of the big steps in becoming an Eagle Scout is conducting and leading a project that will better help the community. And seeing as I've lived in Parkside for most of my life, I would like to do an Eagle Scout project for Parkside. Ilg Island is a traffic island in between Tom Sweeney and West Garrison Road. It mostly just has stop signs on it. However, I would like it to be a place of where you can sit down and just be outside. In September of 2009, the plaque was placed. The plaque and trees. There's 2 plaques, and the tree was placed down there alongside another Eagle Scout project that was not completed. So I'm doing one now. My goal for the project is I've got a few benches that I like to place down, as well as a trash can and a picnic table. I've received plenty of criticism over the picnic table, and this is just a mere rough idea. I'd also like to put some planters down. I have some flowers there. As well as do some rough polishing up and refurbishing. For example, the bushes need a little bit of a trim, and the plaque that is on the stone in front of the tree is very difficult to read. And the sign for West Garrison is just not there. I don't know if you know that. It's just not there. So I'd also like to replace that. So now I'd like to open up any questions or concerns or criticism you may have for the project.
Thank you very much, Henry. That's wonderful.
So I was hoping to get funding from the borough. If that is not possible, I can fundraise. However, it is helping the community, so I was hoping the borough would be able to contribute.
What's your budget?
I'm thinking the most will be $1,000. Depends on how easily that plaque will be fixed. I called up the company that originally put it down, which is where I got the info about the placement of it. And they said that they could get a replacement of it, but they also recommended trying cleaning it up first.
should have clocked out.
30,000 versus 1,000.
Hey, your idea. Work on that.
Do we need to make a motion to, I mean,
Not yet.
yeah, I think what we'll do is we're going to think about this and, I think we're gonna ask you for some more information, like some more details about how much various things cost. Okay, I think one of the things that Eagle Scouts, that Scouts wants you to do when you get your Eagle project is basically like a proposal, a business plan. This is a great start and, I think with more detail, and we can discuss the financing options and see how we can help you with that.
Henry,
What?
what is your deadline?
I turn 18 in a year.
You've only got one more year then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Henry, I would like to tell you that I would support this project 100% and would like to help you with it if you needed any help.
Are you doing this by yourself?
No. The whole point of it is to lead a group of people. So, if anyone wants to help, you can reach out.
I think I can get a few guys together. We can help.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a suggestion, if you work on part 2 of the workbook, that'll answer most of the questions that I think, council would have as far as your project plan.
Okay.
I
Thank
have a question though. If we delay this 1 month, you're going into the mid-May planting season, and then the hot summer months where the plants may not survive without regular watering. So I personally would like to move forward to at least give the young man the idea that the council will support his budget of $1,000, and then to come back and proceed.
That's not how it works.
It's not,
No, he has to write the plan, he has to have it approved. If he starts the plan, if he starts to work the plan, it'll never get past Rick Brown.
okay.
So he has to, all of us support you in this project. He's
And
fantastic.
most of us know
Always
this.
help you.
Well, think falls.
Who was your cub master?
Yeah. So.
Who was your cub master, Hank? I want to know.
Let's not go over that too far.
So I would like to add, I will not be free for most of the summer, so I don't plan to start constructing this during the summer. I hope to have it approved and prepared to be built before the summer, and then begin building it in September or October, somewhere in that area.
Just a shameless plug for the Scouts. Honestly, if any of you have kids in your life, they now have girls, boys, everybody's welcome. There's a lot of troops out there, and I highly recommend it for kids.
Can I make a motion that we just approve his moving forward with the project, so that way he can verify he has council approval
I'll
when
second
when
that.
he goes to,
Need to add it to the agenda?
borough council? No, it's all good.
Oh,
It is
but
on the
not
agenda.
motion, okay.
We're okay with that.
I'll take the motion. We've got a second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's go.
I abstain.
Henry, so in your paperwork, you can let them know you already received council approval. So.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You don't have to stay, It's gonna get boring. All right, our next item is the presentation. Scott, would you like to introduce?
Yes, so,
I'll move.
so, for the last, number of years, as everyone knows, I have suggested that we change out the streetlights in Parkside. It is a, opportunity to, save money on our street lighting bill every year. And it is a way to improve the quality of life in our community by having better lit streets, both for safety, security, and just general overall appearance of the community. So in order to pay for this improvement, we would take a year off from completing the road program. The streets are in very good condition, and for a lower cost than paving about 5 blocks, we can replace every streetlight in the borough. Tonight, we're going to hear from Mr. Mike Fuller, who's with Keystone Lighting Solutions. He is the lighting expert who has won a competitively bid contract with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. The DVRBC creates policies and infrastructure programs to help counties and municipalities in the Philadelphia region, including the program that we're talking about tonight, the streetlight program. Last fall, we voted to participate in phase 1 of the program, a feasibility study. And right now, Mr. Fuller will present the results of that feasibility study, okay? Tonight, we will receive a budget estimate for how much it would cost to replace the streetlights. We'll receive a general scope of work, and Mr. Fuller is going to outline the benefits to the community for having new streetlights, okay? Based on that information, this council is going to be asked to make a decision tonight not to purchase all the streetlights. We're going to make a decision for about $3,100 as to whether we should give Mr. Fuller the green light to do a detailed study, and he'll explain what is involved in that study of the details of a streetlight replacement program, okay? That is phase 2 of the program. It's also the second of 3 votes that are required to replace the streetlights. The first vote we had in the fall, tonight will be the second vote. The third vote will be later this summer when we have the final engineering and the final study completed. At that time, we will vote again to make the full purchase of the streetlights. So tonight, we're making a $3,100 decision, okay? I appreciate you paying attention to this thoughtful presentation for our consideration. I welcome everyone in the room to ask questions for Mr. Fuller after the presentation, okay? We had a similar presentation to this before in January of 2022, all right? At that time, we did not move forward with the proposal, to move to phase 2. Tonight, I'm hoping we move forward. I will tell you that the price that Mr. Fuller is the final price that Mr. Fuller is going to present to us has gone up $8,000 from January of 2022 until today. That's an example of continued inaction on the streetlights continuing to cost us money. And if we were to replace the streetlights the way Mrs. Roman said just a moment ago, Mayor Roman said a moment ago, one fixture at a time, the cost per fixture would be significantly higher than replacing all 112 fixtures all at one time, okay? So that is a general sense of what is about to happen with Mr. Fuller. Again, everybody can ask questions. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Okay, great. Thanks. Good to see you.
Could we have the lights turned off so I can see it?
And the stars taken off the wall, so we
Can you do the lights? Someone in the back do the lights. They're right behind you.
Oh, the other side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move my chair,
Sure.
too, please.
There's also a copy on your desk. We all have copies on our desk if you can't see the presentation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. It's good to see you again. I am.
We can't read the.
I'm not sure where I can stand, that I'm not going to be in somebody's way.
They got
I have to advance the slides, so
I'll
move around so I'll block people at different times.
Give Mr. Fuller a chair to sit down.
Okay, I can sit down.
Sit on the ground.
I'm good. Thank you.
I apologize.
Okay, so as Scott said, he highlighted a lot of items I have on the initial slide, so I'll go through those pretty quickly, and I'll try to be short. You obviously have a full agenda, but this is the first phase. The feasibility phase that we've gone through with you was a no-cost phase. DVRPC paid for that. They have funding for that. So this is generally to give you an assessment of what the opportunity is financially and otherwise to upgrade your streetlights. So why do you want to look at upgrading your streetlights? They give a financial return on the investment. And they do that through energy conservation. The energy consumption of your streetlights will go down 50 to 75%. The maintenance costs will go down 50 to 80%. And that's based on the long life nature of the LED technology. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But also generally the LED lights allow you to put light where they're supposed to be, on the roadways, on sidewalks. They're very controllable, unlike the older technology lights, which tend to spread out, less controlled. So that's a benefit. Generally, the perception after a streetlight upgrade is that there's greater visibility and better lighting throughout the community. The one nice thing about this project that I've already alluded to is that there is a return on investment. Unlike other projects that you have to do, you have no choice but to do them. This one does give you a return on investment. We are going to reduce your costs, and over time, those reduced costs are going to pay for the project. And it actually generates a net savings, which I'll show you. That's additional funds and savings that can be put towards other borough priorities. DVRPC created this project or this program well over 5 years ago. Scott alluded to the fact that you guys looked at this in round 3. We're now in round 4 of the program. And I'll just say that DVRPC created this to be turnkey. So you can rely on my company and DVRPC to actually help you with every aspect of this, from the feasibility to the technical design. In phase 2, we get into very detailed GIS-based audits of every streetlight, so we know exactly what's there, so we can be accurate in our project specification. We help with project management. We stay on through the construction period and act as the project manager. We update all the bills with PICO for you as a result of this project. We get you PICO rebates. We do all the applications for the rebates associated with it. So everything that goes along with this project, we do for you, so you don't have to do it on your own. I'll just mention here that we are doing a pooled procurement, and we're actually leveraging dozens of municipalities that have already done this in the scale of that. And we're extending contracts that we've had for years with manufacturers to get below market level pricing on the streetlights, on the labor to install them, and also the distributor that's involved with this. We competitively selected all those vendors to support this program. At this point, we've had over 70 municipalities participate in rounds 1 through 3. 3 is in construction right now. We're more than halfway through construction with 3. And with those 3 rounds, we've touched those 70 municipalities, 50,000 streetlights, over 5,500 traffic signals. We've generated over $20 million in net savings. That's after the project costs are subtracted out, over 20 years for municipalities. And this is a very green, sustainable solution too, because we're reducing energy consumption and therefore reducing greenhouse gases. I did mention or put at the bottom of this slide the neighbors of yours in Delco that have gone through this project. The last 2 are currently in round 4 feasibility along with you. And but you can see that Chester City, Eddystone, Trainer, Aston, Marcus Hook, Brookhaven, Media, Morton, Rutledge, Glen Olden, Collingdale, Darby, Eden, Lansdowne, East Lansdowne, Millbourne, Newtown, Haverford. They've gone through construction with the project. Radnor is in the design phase. They actually approved it, so they've moved on to the second phase design. And Lower Chichester, we have not presented the feasibility yet, but they're looking forward to receiving that. So there are plenty of your neighbors to go look at what the lights look like post upgrade. I don't want to go too fast past this, but I will just mention one point on the pooled procurement, which I already mentioned. DVRPC is the purchasing agent on this, and you're able to piggyback off of their procurement, all competitively bid and validated, and you can piggyback via the Pennsylvania Procurement Act, Chapter 19. So you don't have to do the procurement efforts here. That's already been done. As Scott mentioned, you're in the feasibility phase, and he laid out the other phases. You can see construction is phase 2. Design is phase 2, and construction's phase 3, and post-construction's phase 4. So what do we have in the feasibility? We've delivered, in addition to this summary presentation, a 40-plus page feasibility study that has all sorts of analysis and the minute detail on our assumptions at this point. And let me just mention that in the feasibility phase, we have not done an audit yet. So we're just using information that is readily available to us, primarily from PICO bills and then other information that we were able to get from the borough. But those assumptions tend to be pretty darn accurate to what the final project specification looks like. And therefore, the feasibility study is really an excellent tool to assess your opportunity. I'll just show you what's in the scope of the feasibility study, which could change a little bit once we do the audit. Usually the counts change a little bit, but not much. PICO doesn't always have the 100% accurate information. Our audit will get 100% accurate information. And so there's 115 Cobra heads. These are the utilitarian streetlights. Some of those are already LEDs, so we would not upgrade those to save some money. But 108 of them currently look to be non-LED or they're HID, older technology, and we would upgrade those and apply a standardized design to your borough that's based on the road classification. So local roads would get a certain lower wattage LED, and then your collector and major roads would get higher wattage luminaires. Okay. I just wanted to mention you do have other streetlights that are not included in our feasibility study. We'll research these more in phase 2, but we're pretty sure that they're LED already. But if not, we have solutions to change out these fixtures also. Again, Scott said that you're not making a decision on the project at this point, but I will mention that many municipalities add on to kind of a base upgrade, different control options. We've priced those out in the feasibility study, but we're just trying to build awareness at this point that there are options for additional controls that go on top of these. Some are low-cost manual controls. Others are very sophisticated network control systems where you can see your whole lighting system through the computer. That's usually larger municipalities do that because they just have so many lights that they need a method to manage their lighting system. We'll talk more about these in phase 2 if you decide to go to the design phase, but we did price them out in the feasibility study at this point. Your traffic signals, PICO believes that you mostly have LEDs, but they said that 9 of the lamps are still incandescent. My guess is they may actually be LED. We won't know till we do the audit in phase 2. But if they are incandescent, we would replace them with LED. And if they're not, if they are LEDs, but PICO thinks they're incandescent, we'll go ahead and update the bill for you with PICO to reflect that they are LED, and therefore you should get the savings associated with that. So I'll just make a mention about liquid fuel funds before I go into the financials of the feasibility. Many RSLPP projects have used liquid fuel funds. Part of the turnkey approach, we help with the project approval with PennDOT. So we know how to fill out those forms and give you all the information you need to do that. Then when it comes to verification of the project, we supply all that information. So we've done that with many projects. Actually, the most recent ones have been in Delco that we've been supporting with liquid fuel funds. So a significant portion of your project costs would be eligible for use with liquid fuel funds. Fortunately, your scope of Cobra heads is really what's eligible, and all the material and labor for the actual fixtures themselves are covered and considered qualified by PennDOT. So here are the project financials. Scott did mention even though we've been able to stay below market rates, most manufacturers had 15 to 20% increases over the last 12 to 18 months. Was along with all the other. We've really kept that to a much lower percentage, but there were some price increases since we last presented a feasibility. But again, we're still much below market levels and much lower than doing a one-by-one replacement strategy. I will tell you though that PICO rates have also gone up. So the paybacks are actually fairly similar to where we were the last time we looked at this. And that's because your PICO rates are higher. That means that savings are more valuable at this point. But you can see with the base upgrade, so this without any controls, you're generating about over $300 per month in savings that you're going to get through your energy cost savings and some in maintenance savings. The net project cost after the rebate has been paid out, we're estimating at about $38,000. So that gives you about a 10-year payback on this project. So keep in mind, once you've paid back, everything beyond that is going to be additional money and net savings that can be spent on other uses for the borough. And then I'll just mention the other two control options. Right now in the feasibility phase, the manual control option actually is the same as the base upgrade, because to maximize rebates for the base upgrade, we actually put the manual controls in them because they're so cheap to do, and it helps us get higher rebates. So those two line items are exactly the same. But the network controls, you can get more energy savings because you're on a different PICO tariff. You can see now you're looking at closer to $400 per month savings, and but there's a higher cost with that. So and therefore a higher payback. Again, we usually see the network controls being chosen by larger municipalities.
So Mike, if I could just interject for
Yeah.
a moment. So this $38,000, this is our budget estimate that we are receiving. That's kind of the bottom line of the feasibility study that we're receiving today, is this budget estimate.
Yes.
Okay.
There, I believe I'm not going to go through the next slide, but I'll highlight one item on that is net of the rebate though. So the actual outlay is slightly higher than that, but then within a month of construction ending, you get a PICO rebate to offset those costs. So that's the net.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and the $3,100 that we are going to vote on tonight,
Mhm.
that's included in that 3,800. That's not in addition, that 38,000, that's not in addition to it.
That's correct. Yeah.
So at some point, we may be writing a check for approximately 35,000. Well, 35,000 plus rebate amount.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So other than the 3,100 or whatever the exact number is, all the other costs would be during the construction phase. Okay. And I don't know if I mentioned anywhere else, but I'll just mention, just so you get a scope of, like, for your size project, this is probably a 3 to 4 day installation. So the contractor that we have moves very quickly. It's a moving operation. We have no disruption in the municipalities. We literally, over the 70 municipalities, have not had a single complaint about contractors holding up traffic or anything like that, because it's just like they're doing maintenance on the lights, you know. So I do want to mention on the right, all you get with the project, and again, we're not approving a project at this point, but you get a 1-year installer material and labor warranty. But I want to really highlight that the products have a 10-year manufacturer warranty. Your current lights, when you replace them with the older technology, they have a 1-year warranty with them. So this shows you this doesn't even show the expected life. It shows you the manufacturer's confidence that there aren't going to be any failures in 10 years, because they don't like to give warranties assuming that there's failures. So typically the rated life of LED products is, if you look at the manufacturer information and the technical data, it's like 40 years. We don't quote that, but comfortably we're looking at 30 plus years. But you're going to have a 10-year warranty associated with those materials. I'm not going to go through this slide. This just breaks out the costs in more detail. Again, this is in the feasibility study.
And point out the contingency line, please.
Yeah. So we do have $3,000 in contingency for the project. And we also have $6,800 in rebates that would be coming back to you. And those are all part of that 38 number. So the contingency is your money. If we don't need to spend it, we don't. But we do put contingency in case rewiring has to occur. If the contractor finds unsafe conditions with the wiring, which we can't see during the audit, we carry contingency to take care of that. So I've already mentioned what would, in phase 2, the project development or the design phase, I do want to highlight that there's going to be this investment grade audit. And when we get to the price of that in the very last slide of this phase in total, probably about half of that cost is in the audit, because we're paying somebody to go out and actually audit every single fixture. Even if you were not to move on to construction, you would get all that data of your existing streetlight system. So there's value in that alone. We use it to do the appropriate design and project specification, but there's other value to you in just getting that information. So we do the design, we do all the rebate related information, but ultimately all this leads into a final project specification that we would come back to you in the summer, ask if you'd like to move on to construction, give you the actual final specification, and then you could decide if you're moving on to phase 3. This is a reflection of the GIS-based audit that we do. But next steps, obviously, I'm available to answer any questions. Again, we are only in feasibility phase. We will be looking at everything fresh in phase 2 with backed up with a real audit. And there is a resolution on the agenda to decide if you want to move to the second phase. And to Scott's point, what you would be committing to in this resolution would be the phase 2 design fees, which not only include KLS fees, my company, but also DVRPC SM program fees. That's all included in this 3,100. That 3,100 is all included in the 38,000 that we presented earlier for the base upgrade. And so if you were to move forward, we're going to kick off phase 2 with all the round 4 municipalities. In May, our auditors will come in at one time and do all the municipalities. And then phase 3, you would decide if you want to move to construction late in the summer. And then we're hopeful that we would still be installing at the end of this year. Okay. So that's what I have for you today. And we can turn on lights and see if there's any questions.
I was gonna say, I just popped right up there.
Yeah. Spotlight. Okay, so I just have a couple questions. Do you know if other municipalities have been able to pay for this with 100% liquid fuels, or does the borough have to pay some of it out of their general fund?
Yeah, there's always a little bit that has to be paid out of the general funds because for some reason, PennDOT doesn't want to pay for the photocell
Okay.
on top. But also the design fees and the program fees, those are not eligible through liquid fuel funds.
How much is that approximately?
Well, it was the 3,100 for phase 2 in total. That would be about $7,000 plus the photo cells, which could be another maybe $1,000.
Okay, so 8,000,
8 to 9, I'd say.
9.
Yeah.
So of the 30, of
But
the
31 would be paid in the design phase. So the remainder would be what would be paid in construction phase.
so about 10 or 11 is out of general fund and 28 is out of liquid fuels.
I think it's less than 10 or 11 out of general funds.
Okay, eight or 9. Okay.
Yeah, maybe closer to 9. I could, yeah.
Okay.
And we'll get that in more detail when we get the
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
the second phase done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want the ballpark for now.
Yeah.
And so when you do the installation, you said it doesn't cover the wires going down the pole?
So I should have spent a little more time on it, but when you take the Cobra head off, you replace it with the new LED Cobra head. The arm stays, the wiring stays. 95+% of the time, the wiring is fine. If the wiring is cracked or brittle, the contractor will replace the wiring to the Pico tap
In the arm?
inside the arm. Yeah.
Okay, ours were changed like 20 some years ago, so it shouldn't be too bad, right?
No, it shouldn't be. I'd have to look closer. I think you have like the Cobra head image that I showed. I think that's the style fixture you have. There's a previous older version of that Joe, you may be familiar with. It's like a dusk to dawn or a NEMA type. If you had a lot of those, they tend to take a little more rewiring because there's more exposed wiring, but I think you're mostly Cobra heads. So, and when Lenai, if it's Lenai who's out, that's been doing maintenance, they're under the same requirements with the National Electric Code. If they see an unsafe wire condition, they have to replace the wiring. So it gets replaced over time. So,
All right.
yeah.
Anyone else have comments? Go ahead.
Just a couple of questions. Is the scope of Radnor's work something that would hold them back? Because they are definitely the canary in the coal mine with like advancing projects like this. And to see that they're only in phase 2 is almost surprising, as far as how they act. That would be question one. And I just had a couple.
Yeah, I don't know the history of why they weren't in previous phases. Some municipalities have looked at this trying to go on their own, and then once they heard about DVRPC, I mean, we do have a little bit of a lead time to get into it, so we could have been talking to them over a year ago. But they quickly approved the project to go to the design phase.
Yeah. And I've noticed a few of them, basically because I go to work in the dark. There are, when they fail, they flicker, and it is disturbing flickering. Is that under your part of the contract for, like, how does that get resolved? Because I can see residents being wildly upset with that happening outside their house. Is that something in that first 10 years you still maintain that the contract or the, I don't know the best word.
Warranty
service.
Like warranty or
Yeah,
continuance of service type sort of thing?
So flickering is usually if it is about ready to die. So these have such a longer life that to get to that point is going to be much, much later.
Well, they did it in Chester. So on my drive to work, because this is something I pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because it's been an ongoing issue.
Right.
They've already had probably 4 failures just on Edgemont, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Oh, God, it's on.
The good thing about LED lighting is it's really electronics. So when electronics fail, they tend to fail quickly. And the contractor gives you a 1-year labor and material warranty. Like Chester is still under their 1-year warranty. So all of those should be called in to the contractor to fix. And then after that, after the 1 year, so in that first year, you would keep me in the loop, but we would just contact the contractor and they would take care of it. No cost. It's just all. After that, the manufacturer warranty on the product side, not the labor side, you have a manufacturer warranty for another 10 years. So at least you would get replacement product for free. But in years, 2 through 10, you'd have to have somebody replace that. But most failures occur very early.
And then the last part was, there was a lot of conversation about, I don't know what they call that, the flooding effect, or how the ratio, because sometimes when you drive, you're going normal speed, you're in the light, you're out of light, you're in the light, you're out of light. And that can be disconcerting. And I noticed it more with the LEDs. My question is, originally they were talking about the height of the heads being changed, or are we talking about just the bulbs getting changed, but we're going to charge for an audit to do that, so we just get bulbs no matter what?
Yeah, so this is basically a 1-for-1 fixture replacement. We do sometimes add additional lights here and there, but essentially it's a 1-for-1 replacement. You are always gonna have dark spots in a lot of spaces because we don't control where Pico put the lights. And a lot of times they put them too far apart. I will tell you that LEDs are better at spreading light between the fixtures. So you're gonna have less of a dark spot between those two. But if the fixtures are 100 or 120 feet apart, there's gonna be a dark spot along there. But the LEDs are gonna perform better than the existing.
It might just be noticeable that there's actually dark spots. Like if you look through to a house, sometimes a house has actually looked dark because you're looking through a wash of white light. So those are my questions.
Yeah, and it's fortunate in round 4, you can go to all those communities that I mentioned and see exactly the same manufacturer Cobra head that we've used throughout the whole program is what we would be using for your project also.
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
The total project cost looks to be about $45,301.
38,000.
I'm sorry, you've taken the Pico rebate off of that to
Right.
bring it down to 38,415.
Sure. Mhm.
How long does it take to get a Pico rebate? Because we'd initially have to spend the money on this before the Pico rebate comes through.
Right. So the Pico rebate usually comes about a month after construction is completed. Your construction period is about 3 to 6 days. So if we are proactive and we time it correctly and we submit that application for you, you have to sign it. But other than that, we submit that and they cut checks every few weeks.
Now, when you do this survey for the next phase, do you also indicate where we would need additional poles? Or is that not part of the survey?
We can look at that, but typically this is a 1-for-1 replacement. And what's more valuable to us is for you, council, police, whoever it would be, to say, I've got 3 or 4 problem areas. And I'd like you to really look at those more closely. In the design phase, we will look at those specifically. We often say, wait till you get the LEDs because you may resolve the issue with that. But if you point out an area and I'm like, yeah, there are no lights there, we often will, suggest a small number of additional items, but it usually is driven by your input.
And at what stage would it be the next stage where you could define the cost from liquid fuel and general fund?
Yes, in phase 2, we would do that exactly to the penny, basically.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mike, I have a quick question. Sort of, Mr. Cole was saying, like, with spacing's an issue.
Yeah.
During that design phase, you would look at different light distributions, like a 3 versus 5, to
Yeah.
kind of try to mitigate some of those darker spots if possible.
Yeah, not to get too technical, but we use type 2s on all the roadways. That spreads light most like left to right if you were looking at the fixture from across the road. Type 3 is a little fatter. We use those in some intersections because that gets more light into all the intersecting roads. And actually, in some cases, we use type 5s. If you have an arm into the middle of the intersection, that's a round distribution. So yes, we capture audit data that allows us to make the right decisions, the best decisions for what distribution of light to use.
And so the payback period is 10.3 years.
Yes.
So that basically means these lights would pay for themselves in 10.3 years.
Yes.
And then on average, if they last 30 years, you have 20 years of additional savings.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. So the base upgrade, after your 10 years, you might have $3,600 per year for another 20 years. Yeah, we estimate we do everything over a 20-year period, and the net savings number, which is on the more detailed chart of the base upgrade, is at the end of 20 years, this would generate, based on the feasibility, $36,000 of net savings.
And so it's basically an investment.
It's a return on investment, yeah.
It's where the most investment.
Yeah.
And a better return on investment than paving streets.
Yeah.
Well, that depends if you want to see the pothole with the new lights or what you want to do in life.
Well, I encourage you to tell me which streets we need to look at and we'll see if we can
Well,
figure it out.
I believe that's not my field, but maybe our,
Because the potholes, that's Edgemont, that's totally different matter.
I wasn't talking about Edgemont Avenue. I'm very aware of that state road.
So my question is, and if it's not appropriate this time, I'll ask it at a later time. I would love to see LED lights in the borough. But I'm worried about depleting liquid fuels, number one, and number two, I'm worried about the cost. Maybe the treasurer can answer this. Are we in financial shape to spend this kind of money? And if we are, then that's great, and I feel we should move forward. But that's what I would like to know first.
Well, depending on what projects you want to run that are liquid fuels related, you do have funds in liquid fuels that, I send out the report, and you can see that there are funds in liquid fuels to support the project. But I don't know what other projects you have lined up for liquid fuels this year. And you get your liquid fuels funding every year. So, you can kind of plan ahead on what projects you want to do during what time frame. So usually the funding for liquid fuels comes in the first week of March, because I think it came in the first week of March. So, and I know that this has been done in Eddystone, and I can confirm how long it took to get the PICO rebate. But I think as far as I know, they're happy with that project. I can check with them.
In your professional opinion, do you feel financially we should move forward?
I'm not an engineer, so I don't know from a lighting
just
standpoint, but
talking
from a
completely
financial
financial.
standpoint, I know that a lot of boroughs and municipalities are doing it, and I think for councils, to be able for you to feel comfortable about it, I would call those other boroughs. Like Mike said, Eddystone's right around the corner. You can go there and talk to them. I can get information for you from their treasurer. But, if you're going to save money, you're going to upgrade your lighting, and this is something that you can fund out liquid fuels and not have to use the general fund for. To me, it makes sense, but that's your call.
And
Thank you.
Well, once we pay, I'm sorry.
to Donna's point, I remember the first time you came and presented this, and I contacted several different municipalities, their borough managers or secretaries. I can remember Brookhaven, Lansdowne, a few different ones, and they all were very happy and satisfied with the lighting and the savings that came with it.
Mr. Roto, generally, our road programs is around $50,000, is that correct?
Yes, that's where it was this year also.
Okay, so this is a lower cost than what we generally do for a road program. It just means not doing a road program for once a year. But if we do 20 years in a row, the last time we did the streetlights was 22 years ago. If we do 20 years in a row of road program, I think it's okay to take a year off, replace every streetlight in the borough, and then we come back to the road program next year. And also,
I'm not really worried about the road program. I'm really worried about liquid fuels, and we had a real mild winter, and we had no salt, no overtime, that sort of stuff. I'm worried about depleting liquid fuels. That's what I'm really worried about.
If we still haven't paid for the beacons that come out of liquid fuel. If you deduct that from what we have in liquid fuel, that brings us down to $57,600 roughly. So the cost from liquid fuel would not, it would prohibit a road program. But we also need to think about emergencies for an inlet, which we already know there's an inlet that's bad, salt for the roads next year, and to pay PICO to run the streetlights. So I think, even though I agree that we do need LEDs, is this the time to do it?
I'll point out that we're already paying PICO to run the street lights,
Out of
and
liquid fuel.
and it'll be less once we have the LEDs. Also, didn't we not buy salt before this last winter?
No.
Oh, I thought you guys said that you made a deal with,
We didn't purchase it.
oh,
Right.
an agreement,
We only
okay.
requested to purchase it from them if
Gotcha.
we needed to.
All
Because
right,
they
but
have to purchase it.
how
to
much
be
do
able to
you need,
supply us.
maybe $10,000? Because that's the difference between the 50 some and the 38.
It's
So-
close, yeah, it's
All right,
close.
so, I mean,
And I'm also still worried about the storm drain repair that we might be on the hook for $32,000 at this amount of time.
that's not us.
Yes, it is us.
We own that storm
We own
inlet.
I thought you guys had been working with Brookhaven and,
Nobody owns up to it.
Nobody will own up to it. I called PICO 2 weeks ago, and they gave me the last two contractors that dug in that area. One was Daniela and one was Hinkles and McCoy, and neither one of them said they didn't put a steel plate there. And I'm having problems with PennDOT to answer the question. It's a major plate, so someone drug it there with a backhoe. It's still sitting there.
Is it Edgemont Top Swing or Upland Top Swing?
It's top swinging and Upland Road.
Upland, okay, Upland.
Okay, so does anyone else on council have any questions for? Okay, so we're gonna do this a little differently. If you have any questions about the lighting program, because I'd like to let this gentleman leave. So if anybody has any questions that you'd like to ask this gentleman, by all means, please come up to the podium. Do not feel the need to say your address. Is there a sign-in sheet there, Tamika?
There is a sign sheet.
You may sign in with your address there, but don't say it aloud because we're being broadcast.
All right, no problem.
Mr. Fuller, at first I'd like to say thank you for taking the time to do your presentation. Now, I have some very serious questions about the lighting. My first question is, what would the first year service level agreement be to your mean time to repair following reporting of a malfunctioning light unit?
Typically, under that 1 year labor and material warranty, contractor responds within a few days of being reported.
Okay, and with that question,
But
is this
I
in a
will-
service
I
level
will-
agreement that is delivered on paper and a contract to the municipality from your organization?
No, there's a contract directly with the contractor.
Okay,
With
but
the
the contract between us and you, who
Yes.
received $774,949.23 from Lincoln Intermediate Unit in 2018, between us and you, who are going to get our tax money, will there be a service level agreement that dictates the maximum number of days that we have to wait for the repair service to occur?
I don't know that that's a term in the contract, but if that's something that's required, we can talk to the contractor.
Because, a lot of people talk about these long warranties, but if you can't get the service done for 6 weeks, that mitigates the benefit.
I would encourage council to talk to any municipality that has gone through this and to see how the installer has reacted to any failures that have occurred.
Okay, now what I also would like is, where can I view the existing annual lighting costs incurred by the borough for 2022 and 2021? Only covering the costs incurred by having the incandescent Cobra headlights we already have.
You can do a right to know or just send a note and we'll.
I certainly will, and,
That's in every budget. There's a line item in every budget for streetlight. I don't have the right page printed out. But every projected budget and every final budget has a line item for
Okay.
streetlights.
Okay, because like I said, in 5 years ago, in 2018, Lincoln Intermediate Unit in New York, Pennsylvania paid $774,989.23 to get these lights from this organization. And I'm worried that the 900 or so people and homeowners in Parkside are going to have to divide a similar invoice.
We have presented the cost of the project and the feasibility. In phase 2, you will see the exact price. It's going to be in the range of
Okay,
what you
in
just
phase
submitted.
2, we get to see the
I
exact
don't-
price. I have a
actually-
question about phase 2.
I just don't know.
Is phase
I don't know
2
that that's
after
accurate.
we've already been?
Rob, can you let the man answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So first of all, my organization only does design. So what you're referring to at Lincoln Intermediate, which I think your number is incorrect there.
I'm getting it right off of their annual report.
I'd be happy to report back what it was. So, but that is not to my firm. That was the construction contract amount to do an LED upgrade in schools, not at streetlights. This was a massive project that they did within their schools. So it's comparing apples to oranges. I'm interested now. I'm curious. I'll go back and confirm the amount, but I'm not sure how that pertains to what's being quoted to the council here in terms of an estimated project cost from the
All right.
feasibility.
And,
And let me just also say to the council, all the pricing that is in the feasibility currently and will be in the design phase is already negotiated. Every streetlight, every installation cost, all of my fees, everything was competitively bid and selected through DVRPC, and it's all firm unit pricing. Now, if we find 2 more fixtures than what Pico thinks you have, then there'd be 2 more fixtures to upgrade, so there'd be additional costs. But the unit costs are all set. They're all firm, they're all pre-negotiated.
Well, when you mentioned in phase 2, they will be laid out, in your words just a few moments ago.
Yeah.
Will the residents, the homeowning taxpayers of this borough for 40 some odd years, as many of us are, will we be able to review these costs before the contract is inked?
We'll present to the council everything that we present to everybody else, and that'll be between you and the council, I guess.
All right.
I don't turn over information. I turn it over to our customer who's the.
Okay, my only remaining question is historically, how many times has your organization not met its service level agreement with a municipality in the state of Pennsylvania?
Never.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? We do have a couple other people.
Thank you for your careful consideration, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time to ask questions.
Good evening. Cut that. I just have a couple of questions about the different types of lights that you mentioned, the
Yeah.
level, or the light type 2, 3, 5, et cetera.
Yeah.
So for a standard street in Parkside,
Mhm.
most of them would be a type 2,
Yes.
which is about a 180-degree light,
Yeah.
give or take.
Yeah, for all your mid-street locations, yes.
Okay,
in between
now-
the blocks.
On Edgemont Avenue, would those be a type 3?
No, what we do is on a larger road, you get a bigger fixture lumen package out of it, but you still may have a type 2 mid-street.
I mean, yeah,
At the
it's a
intersections.
double-lane highway, so.
Yeah, but it's still type 2, but they're mounted higher and therefore
Okay, and then the
the
other
distribution type is associated with the road
You'd mentioned the wood lot.
location.
You'd mentioned the wood lot, and obviously you meant up in the wood lot. What about the road leading to it?
Because we have not done an audit, I can't, I'm just going off of the basic Pico inventory you have now. So
Okay,
Scott may be able to answer, like, when we talked about the decorative lights, are they up in
yes,
Woodlot?
They
They're the
are up
decorative
in-
lights.
they're the decorative lights, but there's a road leading to the wood lot that does have a few,
Yeah, it's unusual because they don't use telephone poles. They have metal.
well, no, the ones in the wood lot, I'm not talking about those.
No, on Park Valley Lane, they're not telephone
I think
poles.
they're already on.
Yeah.
Are they aluminum poles?
And they're all.
This is, I think this is a question for the next phase.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's.
No, I appreciate that. I just had
Yeah.
I was curious. I work for an integrator
Right.
and we deal with LED lights, and
Right.
a lot of what you said made sense to
Yeah.
me.
Right.
So I appreciate you taking the time today, and I appreciate council letting this gentleman make this presentation. So thank you.
Suzanne Dolan. I have a couple of questions. The first one is if some of the street lights are being obstructed by trees,
Mhm.
would you be adjusting them on the poles? Or would you be cutting the trees back so that the lights can be showing more light?
So during the audit, we capture probably 30 attributes about each street light. They walk around with the tablet, they capture all this information. Some of the information they capture is if there are tree obstructions. We will talk to council about that. The contractor will make sure they can install the light, and they can do some minor tree trimming to do their work. But in terms of the distribution of light, if we find an egregious situation, we'd report that to council, and we could decide if we include it in our scope. A lot of municipalities have their own tree services that they want to use, so we just let them
So
handle
would
it.
that,
But the information will be gathered.
so would that be an additional cost? Would that minor obstructions of any of the trees?
To be honest, I think out of the 70 projects, there's only been 1 or 2 that we've used some of the contingency for tree trimming. But that's why we carry contingency on the project.
And the other question is, I noticed that some lights go off and on. Would these new lights, would they do that, or would they be on all the time?
They should be on all the time, but if you see flickering, if you see inconsistent, operation, the nice thing is now you have a 1-year warranty that you should be calling us and the contractor right away to say that's not appropriate. One thing that we do is we work very closely with Pico, and they, because of how much they serve, they often, when you report something to Pico, it takes them many weeks to get something resolved. We have a direct line that we communicate through our projects. We tell them, hey, there's a power outage here, we can't complete our work, and then they fix it, and then it's
Because
resolved.
I've noticed it on a number of lights. And if I go out on Edgemont Avenue by the Razor's Edge, that light goes off and it goes on. I don't know if it's motion sensor, if it's meant to do that.
That's
That's all my
because the light fixture is 20-some years old. That's a high-pressure sodium fixture. High-pressure sodium fixtures, as they get old, first they get dimmer more gradually, and you don't even really notice it. And then when they're nearing the end of their life, they get too hot, so they turn themselves off, then they cool off, and they turn themselves on again. That's a technology we will be getting rid of. It's out-of-date technology that will be replaced by the LED.
So the LED won't do that then?
No, they should
Okay.
not do that, no.
Thank you.
I would just mention the list of Delco neighbors that I had on the one slide. Most of the earlier names, they've probably been installed 4 or 5 years at this point.
All right, I don't really like to be standing here.
I'll stand here with you,
being
it'll make you
filmed.
feel better.
I can block you, there you go.
I'm gonna hide. You're not alone.
I'll put my eyes. So, thank you for your presentation. Thank you, everyone. I would just like to hear about how they are going to decrease light pollution. Because I like to watch the stars and the planets and the moon. I need to move.
Yeah, so all of your overheads currently, they have a drop lens on them, and that spreads light to the sides, down, and also up. Every one of the LED fixtures are what are considered dark sky compliant cutoff fixtures, so no light goes up, it all goes down. So that's a benefit of the LED technology.
Okay, so we'll be able to see stars better.
No, you
Well.
can't see stars in Delco.
Yes, we can.
I can't
Yes, we
control all the commercial properties that have lights everywhere.
I know.
Yeah.
There goes Arizona.
Okay, that's it. My name is Rose. Thank you.
My question about the liquid fuel, if we deplete liquid fuel and we need something, it's a simple question, then that, all that money will have to come out of general fund,
We get liquid fuels money every year,
understand?
and for this, we will use 10,000 less than what we have in liquid fuels, which means if we need it for salt, for plowing, we have it, and then it will be replenished again for next year.
So we won't use all liquid fuel for this job.
It will leave over $10,000.
We generally have 10 or 20 at the end of each year in liquid fuel remaining, something like that.
Well, okay,
That's
because this,
untrue, because we usually leave about 32,000 in liquid fuel. We did a beacon project that cost the borough so far $32,000. They have not billed us. 8,000 of that project is coming out of general fund. So that if we use this project out of liquid fuel, we'll be left with approximately 10,000. And there'll also be another 9,000 coming out of general fund. So we will deplete it until this time next year.
right, okay. What does it cost, the simple question, what does it cost us in our streetlights a month? Because we're supposed to get a percentage, we're gonna get a rebate on this. Supposed to save us 50% or something. What's our streetlights cost?
I believe we budget $16,000 a year. Do you have the exact
We
number? Tom?
budgeted 17,500 for street lighting
For the whole year or per
for the
month?
whole year.
That's electricity bills.
We had, from a cash standpoint, we carried over money from last year into this year's budget. As Councilwoman Percival said, we do have bills to pay, but, I would need a listing of all the projects that need to happen this year to figure out. We did budget, in the budget, we budgeted a $90,000 for capital outlay. That was in the budget this year.
And the capital outlays, and what specifically are we gonna get done with the
That would be
capital?
the Beacon project, which is how much? 32,000. We budgeted, and this should be out there, We have $3,000 in the budget for public works, roads and street. We didn't spend any of that money. We have $8,400 for winter maintenance services, which we have not spent yet. We have $4,829 for $4,829. We spent 22.8% of that budget. And street lighting, we spent 26.8% of that budget. Maintenance for roads and repairs, roads and bridge, we spent $6,500 of the $20,000 budget. So we didn't spend any of the capital outlay yet.
Okay, thank you.
But the $3,000 from Public Works is for the speed bump project. That's for a generator, the drill, and the bits. So if you take that money from there, then we
Okay, so there's 3,000 for speed bumps, all right. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all for the,
Sorry, I have a couple questions real fast. Judy Saunders. As somebody who's an older person who has an older dog with a very small bladder, I have to walk him at night. I work a 60-hour work week. And I literally feel like I'm walking through the halls of Whitechapel with the lighting that we have in Parkside. I honestly do. There seems to be some confusion or miscommunication or when we were repaving the roads out of liquid funds. The roads we're doing are the side streets. That has nothing to do with the Edgemont Avenue pothole thing.
correct?
Okay, because I've been to every meeting and I'm 100% sure that they're totally different things, but it seems to be misconstrued, possibly by mistake or possibly deliberately, I don't know. So this would be, instead of spending money to repave a road that we've repaved 5 years ago, like Tom Sweeney or Chelton, we would instead use that money to make our neighborhood brighter so that we would have less crime or we would have people who feel safer walking their dogs at night. Is that correct? Am I correct in that assumption?
Absolutely.
Because I honestly do. I think we are a working class neighborhood. We are a blue collar neighborhood. Most people like me don't work one job. I work a 60-hour work week. So at night, at 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night, I literally walk to the woodlot because it is the brightest section of Parkside to walk where I don't feel like I need bear mace. So I'm asking you, as somebody, we're all pet lovers, we all have to walk our dogs, we walk at night. It's dark and scary out there. I really think this project needs to be considered instead of repaving a side street that was paved less than 5 years ago. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? You get to leave.
Okay, I appreciate the engagement from
I
everybody.
really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I really do.
So can I make a motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
do we need, yeah, it's on here.
So we have resolution 1857, which is participating in the next phase of the regional streetlight program as run by the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. There is a cost to the borough of about $3,124. And that will give us the information that we need to make further decisions about whether we want to make a bigger investment in a couple of months. But right now, we're just making a $3,100 decision about whether to have a commercial grade upgrade, audit of our streetlights. So that is my motion. I move we adopt resolution 1857.
I'll entertain a second. Second. Thank you very much. Michael second.
Okay.
All right. Any questions? Shall we do a roll call vote?
Roll call for resolution 1857. Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Ms. Percival?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Mr. Swagger?
Yes.
Mr. Costigan?
Yes.
Mr. Sizzle?
Absolutely.
Ms. Guy?
As well, yes.
Motion passed.
So moved. That's, yes. That was unanimous. That was beautiful. See,
Yeah,
we can work together.
all right, I'll be in touch.
Okay, so we have another call for citizens. We have quite a few other items on the agenda. We're only an hour and 25 minutes into this meeting, and I haven't gotten my president's report. So anybody who would like to discuss anything else that is on the current agenda?
I won't worry about signing on the sheet. I'll tell my name. I'm not worried about being up there because I have a few things I'd like to say. Number one, every time the meetings that I've come to, it always seems like we're well represented by the firehouse, but why are they so much under scrutiny? First of all, they're a group of volunteers that literally put their life on the line every day for this damn borough and the outlying boroughs in this community. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm getting tired of hearing about it because it's something to my heart because my son's a paid firefighter and he used to work for Brookhaven and he's working down south as a paid fire, putting his life on the line every day. We need this firehouse, just like we need this police department.
Okay,
And
this is not on the agenda.
It's on my agenda and I got a right to say what I got to feel about it.
We have a procedure, thank you. We have a procedure here. There is a call for citizens at the end of the meeting if you would like to speak about something that is not on the agenda. This is not on the agenda. Thank you.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm good nowhere.
All right. Is there anybody else? Agenda related items only. We're not talking about the firehouse today. It's not on the agenda. You can talk about it afterward. Okay, so under President's report, we have to accept the minutes. I'll accept the
Make a
motion.
motion to accept.
February's
February and
minutes.
March.
February and March, we'll do them both at the same time? All right.
Second.
All right. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Let's see, I'll get this business out here. Our secretary is going to need to take a leave of absence. I would like for us to advertise the position so that we can find somebody who can do the job. And in her absence, I haven't had any thoughts on how we'll advertise that. I don't know that it needs to be an expensive thing. There's, we can reach out to the schools, let people know it's a nice job if somebody wants to fill in for it.
Is there a Kelly Services or a Professional Services?
A temp
That's about the same
services?
thing.
They take quite a premium. So if we have someone who's interested who's not going through a temp agency, that would save us about 25%.
May I suggest something? I don't know how Tamika feels about that, but if Tamika could do the work at home, I did post
Yeah,
that.
that's not something we're going to discuss here. I appreciate your input, but we do need someone in the office. She said many times that we've got people coming for permits and contractors, so we will need to have somebody in the office.
Okay.
And there may be people who are interested who just, if they knew about it, they'd tell us. So I would like to make a motion to advertise for the secretary's leave of absence, let's say $200 limit.
Second.
I have a question on the motion.
Thank you.
I'd like to know, is all council going to receive all applications for this position and be involved in all the interviews?
I don't know why you would want to be, but certainly I'd be happy to share that. I wasn't myself invited to look at all the resumes. There were a few, but I don't see why you wouldn't be involved, but I appreciate that. So given that, are there any other questions?
Are we advertising for like a 6-week temporary position?
Yeah, that's what it would be. But we have some notice, so hopefully we can get somebody in and get them up to speed. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you. All right, so I am grateful that we are doing the study for the lights. I honestly think it'll make Parkside a slightly brighter spot in Delco. There it is. Okay. So first, I would like to thank the Recreation Committee for the egg decorating and egg hunt. I did attend the egg hunt. I thought that everyone there had a wonderful time. There were a lot of families having a wonderful time. So I appreciate everybody in the Recreation Committee and all your efforts to make that happen, and the mayor. I did want to let you know that we had an executive session on Monday that was to discuss, which one was that? Yeah, to discuss professional staff. I did mention at the end of last meeting, but I should have mentioned it in my president's report, that we had had an executive session not long before that meeting, which was to discuss legal issues. And I would like to thank Mr. Rodo for our amazing crossing beacon that he has put a great deal of effort. So let's all thank Mr. Rodo for the crossing. I don't know if any of you have benefited from it, but my daughter had to go to the school the other day and sent me a text saying cars stopped. She was so shocked. She said on the way back, she said not all, but at least some of them do, which is quite an improvement from before.
Madam President, can I just comment on the road beacon?
Please.
Actually, the question I have, Chief Murray. The new road beacons that are on Edgemont, what's the legal obligation, since they are new here in Parkside, just so we can inform the residents as far as when those lights are flashing, is there anything different?
I believe that the crosswalk alone was supposed to be obeyed, correct?
Correct.
Right.
So anytime there's a legal crosswalk, okay, properly marked, the pedestrian has the right of way, okay? Right of way is something that is given, not taken. Just, so a pedestrian still has to be extremely cautious. Just because it's there, just because the lights are flashing, doesn't mean the pedestrian can put blinders on and walk across the road. That can be hazardous, okay? But paying attention, stepping out appropriately, cars are required to stop.
One quick question. There was.
Speak up, please, because you're so quiet.
I'm so quiet, I know. Many years ago, I guess there was a ADA compliance issue for the blind of some sort, and it came down to a massive legal issue. And they put in, I don't know what they call those little bumps. So
Technical warning surface.
Yeah, so they can detect that. I always thought it was insane that they put it directly behind the telephone pole, and thought I was gonna die there a few times while my kids at school. But that has been removed, and I don't know if that would take us out of compliance at this point in time, because right now they're pouring concrete when I was coming over.
Right. Those, as part of the Beacon project, which was approved by council in July, if we put up a set of beacons, 2 poles at where you see them now, we can have an additional crosswalk in the same intersection.
So now they cross on the other side of the street, and that's.
And the whole
just a
idea
curve.
was that the crossing guard would only have to be aware of 1 crossing. And PennDOT said if you have 2 crossings, you would need 4 beacons instead of 2, which now we're looking at $65,000 instead of, not that cost is the factor, it's the fact that you either go with 4 beacons or 2 beacons and 1 crosswalk. You can't have both. So in July, council decided we're going with 1 crosswalk and we're going to remove the other crosswalk. And if you remove the crosswalk, you have to remove the ramps.
I didn't take note if they removed the stripes yet.
I think they did it later in the day.
Okay.
So,
is it ever appropriate to put like a small barrier there, like a small like section fencing or something to direct people the other way?
PennDOT's requirement is when you remove it, you have to put up the no pedestrian crossing signs, which are up. So someone from across the street can see the no pedestrian
sign across where you would be crossing to. So those two signs are up and the crosswalks are moved.
Okay. I just remember years ago, that whole intersection was a really big issue.
That's why PennDOT puts you through the whole process of going.
Even with the property owner on the other corner, that was a really big issue. So if it's all resolved, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, and the last, Ms. Percival mentioned that her mother passed away, and in lieu of flowers, I would like for us to send a donation to the charity that what was it, the American Heart Association. So I would like to make a motion to donate $100 from Parkside in honor of Ms. Percival's mother to the American Heart Association. Do I have a second?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Thank you. So,
Thank you, council. That's very nice.
and that is all I have.
Mrs. Guy, I hate to change the tone, and I thank you for the kind thought. I do have some questions for you. We've been going back and forth on the refund from the firm of Rudolph Clark. We have paid the final bill for them, and we still have not received a credit of any type.
We have not paid the final bill. We've cut the check, but they have not received it. So
I
it's,
understood that the final check was already signed and mailed.
no, it was not. It's in my office,
It's been in your office for a month and a half.
maybe.
Should I bring this up again next month?
Sure.
Also, last month you mentioned an audit for the fire company, and I failed to ask who was paying for that audit.
I thought we discussed that council was going to pay for it
No,
because we're
no.
already paying for the money to them. But we did put it in the requirements. But when it's time to pay for it, I'll have a proposal. Right now, I'm trying to gather the information so that we can even find out how much an audit would cost.
Isn't it appropriate that all of council agree to move forward on an audit to obtain a proposal?
I don't know that that's the case. Is it? Do I even have to get approval just to ask a question of another business?
Well, I think to get a proposal, certainly a proposal from a professional, we ought to have a consensus of our council.
Well, we
before
did have a consensus that, that we were going to do an audit. We passed a resolution. I don't know why this is being brought up because
I thought we agreed to that last month.
I thought so
No,
too.
Mrs. Guy brought it up that we would have an audit, and I failed to stop her and ask who is the we? And
I
that's why
clearly
I'm bringing
stated
it up.
last month that we were in an audit with the state and we would not have another audit until that audit is complete. I clearly stated that. I had a meeting with the executive board. They are not going to open their books until they want to open them up. I don't care what you do, how you do it, and that's the way it's going to go.
Okay, let's move on. Ms.
Clearly.
Cole,
Let me ask you, and I'll pass that.
I'm sorry, did you have, all right, go ahead.
I'll pass that for next month, I guess. I'll put that on my next month. I noticed that the right to knows are not on the website, and we have authorized this 6 months ago in October of 2022.
I believe that's being worked on. Is that being worked on?
Yeah, we're still.
I had asked to make it forward those to Kyle, but I've also been forwarding her a bunch of them and.
Yeah, there's still some missing, and then everything is just like literally scrambled
It's been happening
jumbled.
real fast. You
So I
want
just don't want to just put it on the site because no one will know how to. You will literally have to open up every file to figure out what everything is. So we're in the process of trying to catalog it and make it user friendly so you can go to it and see the question and answer. So that's what we've been working on, but we're finding that there's something missing. So I think we need to like sync up with you to see to share what we got and what we think, and so you know exactly what's missing.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's where we're at with it now. We've been working on it. It's just like I said, everything's just random file names. If I just throw it on the website, no one ain't gonna know what it is right now.
And could you tell me, Mrs. Guy, who else besides Theo has passwords to the website?
I believe it's just Theo, and I may have it somewhere, but I don't know what it is. 'Cause
Yeah, it's just me. because the password is just more so the edit. So someone with web
And
experience.
the mayor, thank you, Theo, and I appreciate all your work on these things. I know we're driving you crazy between
Oh, it's fine.
recreation and council.
I signed up for it.
You signed up for it?
Yeah.
And you do it in the, and you do it in
And
the
you do
charter.
it
Yes,
for
for
free.
free, all volunteer.
You need a medal for this. Lastly, the mayor touched base on the LEDs. And last August, Lenai Electric sent a form to approve making any sodium vapor light that went out to be replaced with an LED. In September, when there was no action, I sent an email asking you if you have gotten in touch with Lenai Electric and proceeded with this. So my guess is you have not, and it's too late, but I wanted to let everybody know that LEDs were supposed to be replaced, and this fell through the crack from last summer.
Honestly, it was going to be at a much higher rate than we're going to pay if we do it all at once.
I have the proposal from Lenai Electric, their rate never changed. It was $432 for the last million years.
Which is more than what we were quoted, which was 38,000 for 112 fixtures.
But I think you're missing the point. From August 17 of 2022, we've had lights burned out, and they should have been replaced with LEDs for the last 8 months. So that's in direct conversation with the mayor.
Okay, are you done?
I am.
Okay, then we will move on from my president's report. Mr. Bull.
Thank you, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen. The report to the Borough of Parkside from the treasurer, all bank accounts are reconciled through March 31st, 2023, except for Sharon Bank Escrow Green Tree. And those accounts are escrow account balances. Sharon Bank is at $24,831.32. The escrow for TD Bank is $31,626.68. We're including bank reconciliation and statements for all other reconciled funds for council's approval. The general account fund for Sharon Bank is account balance is $136,294.66. The general account balance for TD Bank is $333,442. And the Pliget account sits at $223.06. Our WSFS general account sits at $15,094.89. Liquid fuels is the TD account is $89,661.14. So for the general fund, for the month of March, $11,785.88 was deposited into TD Bank with expenses of $26,222.61 that were paid. During this period, $89,588.81 of deposits were received into Sharon Bank's general fund with expenses of $173,455.80, including payroll of $66,422. The bank's balances have been read aloud for everyone, and the attached transactions are all part of the report. The only thing that I would note is this is probably the first time I've ever seen us have higher expenditures than deposits in the month of March. Typically, we've already had enough taxes come in that it doesn't seem upside down. So with that, I would make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to make a motion to pay the bills.
Second. And I have a question on the motion. We are getting late notices, such as PECO threatening to shut off our power here, and the check is crossed in the mail. The police are getting second notices. Is there any way to go back to a system in which we're not getting late notices and vendors are not complaining about the process?
I'll address that because we're gonna have an executive session after this, and we will discuss that there. But the treasurer,
Most of the PICO bills are on ACH payment, so I think there might have been one straggler out there that wasn't. So I asked Kathleen to try and set that one up for ACH payment as well, so that way it comes out automatically. Other than that, I mean, we pay the bills when we get them and we issue the checks.
my understanding is that you spoke to Tamika about holding any of the bills that we should vote on ahead of time until the meeting. But that the regular bills should continue to be processed.
No, the issue, what I said was any bills that are monthly bills, we will just pay them immediately when we get them. The bills that need to get approved, I'm bringing to the meeting each
Right,
month. So if I
that's
get them at the meeting, they'll get paid.
Right.
So they shouldn't be the electric bills or anything like that.
Just the ones that are unusual that we should vote on,
Right.
as opposed to,
Right.
so you should have been getting those, you shouldn't have been getting them late at all.
We should not be getting any bills late. Kathleen usually comes here every week, except today she didn't come. And I know that Tamika has a check for us, so Councilman Bull brought up about the deposits. I know she has a large check for the tax deposit.
Yes.
So that didn't hit in March, but that would hit in April. But as far as the bills, I mean, she's usually here every week or every other week if there's bills to be paid or they get scanned to us.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
But Tamika sends us the bills, so
Right.
I don't know why they're like this.
Donna, it was this
Appreciate it.
one. If you'd like the account number, it was this one that gave us the shut off.
Mr. Bull, are you
Yeah,
done
we
with
took care of
finance?
that, and I don't know why.
Yes, moving along to the,
We had the motion in the second. we never
We
voted.
had the motion, the second, we had questions. Are we voting? All those in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And can I just say one thing real quick? You just mentioned executive session.
Yeah.
Is it going to be long? I mean, it's like 8:45 now.
Oh, I totally know. It can be as quick as we want it to be. So hopefully we'll make it quick.
Thank you.
But if that motivates everyone to move quickly through the rest of it, then that works for me too. You're still up, Mr. Bull. Thank you for your patience.
thank you, Madam President. Moving along, the open space report, I would like to thank Ryan for the great job on fixing the bench. I know that was definitely an issue for a little while. It looked really nice. Looks like everybody had a great time at the Easter egg hunt and things of that nature. It seems like the community is really coming together, which is fantastic. I believe we're rounding home on an Eagle Scout project that's taking place in the wood lot. I believe they're actually working on it this weekend, which should be a fantastic benefit to the borough, the residents, and really tying a few things together. We've had probably 3 Eagle Scout projects back there, from the railing moving up, a few tree plantings, and then I believe Nate Swagger can be this weekend for actually creating a little bit more of an arboretum type feel. So you should be able to see the types of trees there and be able to really enjoy that. So you can get your exercise in now. You can learn a little bit about trees, and I believe they're going to install some more shade for us as well. And with that, I will report general progress.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Swagger, I do want your son to do some sort of a presentation when he's done.
Yeah,
To show
after
off
we're
what
done.
he did, okay?
Yep.
All right, because not everybody gets down to the wood lot. All right, next is junior council report.
So I've been working with the junior council members on ideas for projects that they have, of needs that they see in the borough and their vision for how to improve it. So we have 2 projects that are being presented Daniel's gonna talk about his project, and Maha is not here because she's fasting for Ramadan, but Brianna is gonna talk about Maha's project also. So I'll turn the floor over to you guys.
I can go first. So she just typed something up for me to share with you guys, so I'll just read it. Unfortunately, I could not be here today because I'm fasting.
Louder.
But I would like to introduce my junior council project idea. For my project, I am planning a Parkside Community Cleanup Day in which we prioritize the importance of recycling and community cleanliness. You may have noticed that in Parkside, there's a lot of plastic, discarded items, and other trash lying around. Now, this is not only bad for the environment, but also makes a bad image of Parkside. This project will bring the community together, will beautify the borough, and will raise awareness of plastic pollution within the communities. My plan is to have a cleanup on Sunday, May 21st from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. and I intend to offer water ice and water to participants, which shouldn't cost more than $50. Additionally, with the permission from the mayor, I hope to give out certificates to students who help with the cleanup. After this event, I would like to put signs around Parkside informing people to keep the community clean and to not litter. These signs typically range from $25 to $50 each. And then she just put her email if you guys would like additional information. And she made this poster that she hopes to share like Facebook soon.
That's cute.
Brianna, what was the date?
Sunday, May 21st.
Okay, so we're not doing the 14th.
I guess.
Okay.
All right, that's it for,
So is there a request from finance for money there that we need to approve?
Yes, she said the water ice, what was her price of water ice?
It shouldn't cost more than $50.
$50. $50 and we get the town cleaned?
And I think she had in there signs that she wanted to put up, so that, I mean, council, we'll have to discuss.
I have more information about this one for you too.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion just to approve the funds for the water ice at this time, and then we can discuss the signs a little bit more in depth.
You'll second that.
It's gonna be more than $50.
Amend the agenda to include that item.
Do I need to amend the
That's on
agenda to include, it's on here.
Oh.
The motion to fund project. Check
Okay.
this out.
Yeah.
All right. So, any
Mr. Jordan
questions?
saying to increase that?
I mean, I think we should probably have like Big Bars or somebody like that come and do it, because they actually do a fantastic job. You're not transporting it, and things like that. So it should probably be like not to exceed 200 or something along that lines. Because 50, I think it'll hit 50 quick. This is
All right.
2023, it hit 50 quick.
So are you proposing 200?
Not
Up to
yeah, not
200?
exceed. It just gives a little bit more flexibility.
Do I still have a second? All right, any other questions? We're gonna go to up to $200. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you very much. Next, we have the recreation report.
No, wait, no.
Oh, sorry, that's right. Daniel, you gotta speak up too.
So I wrote my report out, but I forgot the paper, but I have it on my phone. So, on Sunday, 4/16, the junior council had a meeting and we discussed what we wanted to do with the West Cole Memorial area. We decided to designate that mental illness combined with suicide awareness. We are asking for $500 to start our project, and I'm pretty sure we will not be using all the money, but I'd rather make sure we have the idea of the budget. Mrs. Morris was able to get some soil, and my mom spoke to a friend of hers who works at Lowe's. She's gonna see if she can get a discount on the materials we need. We want to plant perennial plants so that way they come back every year. We don't need to maintain them that way. We also need to get some mulch for the plant. On Sunday, we'll be meeting at the West Cole Memorial, and we're going to be starting to work on the first project. And after last month's meeting, my mom contacted Mr. Roto for us to meet, and we discussed what we would like to do down at the woodlot. We talked about how we can combine a rain garden with a memorial garden. We would get some statues, plaques, benches for the garden. And me and the other junior council members discussed putting letters together so we can go to businesses to see if we can get donations for materials or money to put towards our garden. Along with the garden at the woodlot, we want to incorporate flower pots, maybe add 1 or 2 of them. And we want to put perennials in them. We want to make the garden, or we want to make the woodlot one, the one for addiction and memorial. And it's not, or sorry, I want to clarify from last meeting. It was said that it's for drug addiction, but it's for all different types of addictions because there's more than just one. And that's really all I want to say besides thank you, council, for allowing us to do this project.
Thank you, that was very well presented, appreciate that. So you're asking for how much?
$500.
Up to $500.
Yes.
What do we get for $500?
A lot of flowers.
So I'm sorry, you mentioned the Cole Memorial Park and the Woodlot, there are gonna be flowers in both locations?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have this one area up at West Bowl. It's in front of like that one memorial in the middle. There's this little area that's not taken up by anything, and we're gonna put the perennials in that small area, and we're gonna expand outwards from there.
Okay.
And then down at the woodlot, there's like this spot between 2 trees, and it's away from where the kids will sled, so they just have to avoid that area. So it's not like we're taking away the woodlot from the kids.
Yes.
It's like a shade area. I was down there with the engineer and the mayor and Daniel, and there's a triangle with 3 trees there, 1, 2, 3. And it would be perfect for a small shade garden of flowers for perennials.
Yeah, and then the woodlot is getting done. Ms. Ferroto's looking into getting grants for funding for that. Because it's gonna be a bigger garden along with the green garden and everything. And then I actually have big rocks, so we can either use them up at the memorial on Edgemont Avenue or down at the woodlot. I have some nice rocks because I redid my wall outside. So however we want to use them to start putting towards one of the memorials.
So I just figured out that 2 teenagers are coming to me for money. It's like being at home. So the other.
Wait if you count, hey.
Yeah, right? So we need another motion for,
I'll make a motion for not to exceed $500.
I'll second.
any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Look at this unanimity. All right. Next up is recreation report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor.
That's you.
No, I know, that's like, you can tell I'm tired. So,
Already 9 o'clock.
I know, it's late. So, one thing I wanted to thank everybody for all of our volunteers that are part of the recreation committee. They're doing a fabulous job. Yeah, the kids all did seem to have a lot of fun over those 2 weekends. That it expanded 2 weekends, which turned out okay. A few of us from the recreation committee got together and decided to start a page, just a recreation committee page. This page will actually just be for putting out the information. Crystal, can I ask you, did we get to shut off the notification, any comments and all that? Okay, so.
All information, no comment.
Yeah, it's specifically for letting everybody know what events are coming up and everything. In next month, May 6th, here between 11 and 3, we're going to do our second annual tie-dye event. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of our residents out there. We're gonna combine that with, vendors, artists, stuff like that. So it'll be an interesting day. So again, that's May 6th between 11 and 3. And then anybody's always able to join the recreation committee. Anybody who's interested, please come to our meetings. It's usually it's the first Wednesday of the month here at 6:30. That's all I have to say.
Okay. We're on to police public safety, Mr. Costigan.
Yes, so our two new full-time officers have completed their training processes and leaving their other employment, and they are both patrolling the streets now. So we have 4 full-time officers patrolling our streets. I did request to put on the agenda, but it didn't make it here, so I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to include a motion for Chief Murray to join forces with Solicitor Wills in drafting a memorandum of understanding to take that to the FOP regarding our schedule. Right now, we have the same schedule that we've had with 3 8-hour shifts. And the idea now is that now we have 4 full-time officers to go to 12-hour shifts. Chief Murray, if you could just explain that.
Sure, it's just a different way of scheduling our time. It requires changes in the police contract because everything now is in weeks or days. When you refer to, for example, vacation, an officer gets X number of weeks of vacation. When we go to 12-hour shifts, you work 84 hours in a 2-week period, okay? Instead of 40 hours a week. So rather than say that you get a week's vacation, you get, let's say he gets 2 weeks vacation, that would equate to 80 hours. So all those little idiosyncrasies in the contract need to be addressed before we can take the step and go to 12-hour shifts. It's good for the officers. They get days off, they get weekends off, not every weekend, but all the departments, I take that back, not all the departments. A lot of departments in Delaware County have already done this. I came from a department where we went to 12-hour shifts in 1998. We did it on a trial basis for 6 months. About 70% of the department was in favor of the trial. At the end of the trial, we voted, and nobody voted no to go back to the 8-hour shifts. The officers like the 12-hour shifts. It gives more time with family, to be involved with family events. So that's what we're thinking. And in order to iron out the details and get everything in place, we need to have an agreement with the FOP. It's not a reopening of the contract. It's a simple memorandum of understanding, making these adjustments so that we can go to 12-hour shifts.
I can tell members of the public as well as Borough Council that the vast majority of municipal police departments in Delaware County have now moved to the 12-hour shift. So we are presently in the minority of municipal police departments in this county where the officers are operating under an 8-hour shift. And assuming our 4 full-time police officers are in agreement to move to a 12-hour shift, then I would expect that the FOP would be receptive to those type of changes. So I think may require perhaps 1 meeting, if that, and administratively, the chief and I can make the appropriate changes with the collective bargaining agreement and forward that to the FOP for their approval and counter signature.
So I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to include a motion for Chief Murray and Solicitor Wills to reach out to the FOP.
I'll second. Shirley seconded.
Yes.
Any questions about adding it to the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's on the agenda.
So now I'll make a motion to authorize Chief Murray and Solicitor Wills to draft a memorandum of understanding for the FOP.
A second,
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Now we're ready to move on to ordinances. What?
one question for the chief. Chief, with the weather being nice, have we started or will we start the bike patrol?
I haven't given that much consideration because we've been just trying to climb out of the hole we've been in. But we can certainly visit that as the weather continues to improve for us. At bare minimum, hopefully we can get one of the part-timers to pick up some of those extra shifts. But we will look at that.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we're ready to move on to ordinance report. You've already taken care of your.
Yeah, resolution 1857 passed already. That was when we voted on before. I do have three ordinances that committee developed, and I haven't brought them to council yet. The last 3-4 months, I've been working on a personal project that's prevented me from working on that, but I do want to start to bring those to council to review. So I'll send them to council again for their further review. We'll share on the website, and we'll take a look at those ordinances. So that's.
Do you have a meeting scheduled?
We first Tuesday of the month. I don't know what that is, but first Tuesday of the month. We will meet this month coming up. Okay.
That's the
Mr.
second.
Sidlow, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, that's May 2nd.
May 2nd, thank you.
Last month, you alluded to, or Mrs. Guy alluded to, a big project in August that you're working on for ordinances. Could you share that with all of council, what this big project is?
Well, this is what I'm talking about. We just wanted to move multiple ordinances through at the same time so that we would have one advertisement fee and one fee for the company that codifies the ordinances.
Super, thank you.
That's my report for that. And then there were 7 building permits, 1 plumbing permit, no electrical permits, 2 use and occupancy, 0 reinspection. And I'll also say that Mr. Who's our code enforcement officer? Not Mr. Capablanco.
Ferguson?
Mr. Ferguson, excuse me, Mr. Ferguson. Yeah, he is paying attention to the energy code now being enforced in Parkside, and we have a new construction, and we have at least one significant renovation. And knowing that that's what I do professionally, he's asked me to look at things and look at some drawings and ask Cal to make sure that at the energy ordinances are being followed. So I'm very glad to see that that's going on, and I'm trying to get my company to arrange for me to attend a training in Allentown this coming month that I'll be able to provide information to Mr. Ferguson as well. So he's getting trained through my professional experience.
And I do have the, if you're ready, I'm sorry, Madam President, for code enforcement, I do have that report.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. One issue of stagnant water in the pool on the 100 block of Beechwood. One issue of overgrown grass in the rear yard of 100 block of Beechwood. 4 issues of discarded grass in the street, and a warning was issued. And then as a reminder, just to all residents, ordinance number 116-9, no person shall discard leaves or grass in the street. And then I do have the tax report. Madam President,
Thank you.
I forgot, it's not on the agenda, but he did send it
It's
to
up
me
at the
this
top,
morning.
actually. I put it on the top. sorry.
For April 6, 2023 to April 16th, the treasurer has received 100,119, here I am getting all confused again. He's received $183,883.03. There is $754,393.41 in revenue deposited from April 6th through April 16th at Fisher.
Thank you very much. Next is Public Works, Mr. Powers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All properties in the borough have been maintained. The bench in the woodlot has been fixed. If anybody was down at the Easter egg hunt, they saw that. There is a ongoing parking and permit issue in Parkside Terrace, and that is being handled by the chief and the police department. Madam President, can I get right into the other
Please.
offices?
Yes.
Fire marshal, the fire company responded to a working building fire that displaced 2 families and affected 5 other units in Park Valley on March 25th, 23 at approximately 7:30 a.m. in the morning. Due to the quick actions of the fire department and surrounding communities, the person in the fire building was able to escape the fire. Within 5 minutes, that person today would be talking about a fatal accident. So quick work again by the fire department. Under my investigation, the cause of the fire was electrical. It was also supported by the CID and the PA State Police aided an investigation. I was hoping to introduce the new chief to the new fire company chief tonight. They had to leave, but the fire company has responded to 111 calls so far in 2023. This time last year, the fire company only responded to 63 calls, so we are really busy. Out of 111 calls, 60 of them have been medical calls, and out of those 60 calls, 3 lives so far in Parkside have been saved. And I mean saved, those people were unresponsive, and when we turned them over to the ambulance, those people are now breathing today. So kudos to our fire department. Emergency management, once again, I need to bring up the hazard mitigation plan that needs to be finished in a short time. It has to be then adopted by the borough in a resolution and then voted on by council. It's a new part of the federal grant. If we don't do it, we cannot apply for any more grants. So it's a project, really, you heard me mention it 2 years ago with Lisa, and it's a major undertaking. Chief Murray could tell you he had to do it in his own town. So it's near completion, and hopefully will be done by the middle of May. So I should have it ready for next month. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. And we're on to recycling.
Thank you. Our totals for the month, last month was 23.07 tons of recycling. Trash was 94.06. And I'd like to take a moment to congratulate Mr. Wills publicly for making the top 5 government attorneys in Delaware County. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Swigert, Communications.
Next meeting for the Communication Committee is going to be May 9th, 7 o'clock here. We're working on the next newsletter. I don't know how many pictures you have. Do you need more pictures from the Easter egg hunt and dying?
I got a lot.
That's what I
I
thought.
appreciate it.
So before I threw out the request, I knew you had quite a few, so. Other than that, general progress, let's keep it going.
Yep, keep it going. Thank you very much. Engineers report, Mr. Roda.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. Flashing beacons have been installed on Edgemont and Forest View, as we discussed, and they've been programmed. Ernell Company has started the process of removing the crosswalks and associated ADA ramps as part of the permit and installing curbs as well. Final inspection with PennDOT will take place when completed. Rebid of the West Cole Memorial Project took place this morning. Only one bid was received, the amount of $39,000 even, which is $30,000 less than last month's bid. It's still $6,000 above the estimate council was presented with. With that, I recommend award to Renault Company in the amount of $39,000 for the West Cole Memorial Project.
They did say that they would credit us if we did the irrigation.
Yes, $2,000.
I don't see that being a monumental issue or
I
a
agree.
$2,000 issue. Do we have actual running water up there? So over the years, there's been places and there has been places.
I'm not sure.
I think we can time it better.
Have a motion, sir?
I'll make a motion to award the bid to Marnell for $39,000 and $2,000 credit. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we already have this budgeted under our capital improvements.
And we got a grant for it that we need to,
Grant will offset everything.
not everything.
No, up to that point, up to $39,000.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. That's all you have here?
No, a few other things. Thank you. Met with Mayor Roman, Councilwoman Percival, and Junior Councilman Daniel to discuss his projects for various memorials. Also, the contractor on the Green Tree Relining Project was to start construction shortly. However, construction will be delayed several weeks due to an issue they've had with the subcontractor. And that concludes the engineer's report. Thank you.
And I just want to clarify, one of the services that you provide to us is that you research and submit the bids for us. Is that correct? It's
As
not
far as
something-
grants?
Grants, that's what I meant, grants, but it's not something that the president of council does. That's something that you do for us, correct?
Yes, on various occasions, either council person might hear something and inform us to verify we are aware of certain grants, and also we get various emails from different agencies making us aware of the grants as well, and then pass that information along to council to see if they're in favor of applying for one of the grants.
And then you take care of the applying for it,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly. And now we are on the solicitor's report, Mr. Wilks.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The April 19th Solicitor's Report is as follows. Number one is the tax assessment appeal for 2801 Edgemont Avenue. The property owner had filed a notice of appeal to the Delaware County Board of Assessments challenging the county's assessment of the property at $940. Again, that's for tax year 2021, almost $940,000 for that property. Now, the property owner had purchased the property, which is the former Parkside Methodist Church, for $133,000 back in April of 2019. So clearly, we have a disconnect between the assessed value versus what the property owner had purchased the property for. Now, the Pendelco School District obtained an appraisal which valued the property at $330,000. And now the school district, the Delaware County Board of Assessments, and the property owner have now agreed to a market value of the property at $345,000, which again is a value in excess of the appraised value. And now all these taxing authorities are requesting that the borough of Parkside concur with this figure. Accordingly, I have prepared the necessary resolution for council's consideration, authorizing me to execute a stipulation settling the appeal at a fair market value of $345,000. And that resolution is presently before council. And again, I will go quickly with this. Whereas the Borough Council of the Borough of Parkside, Delaware County has been informed that an agreement and stipulation has been reached in the matter of the assessment appeal of Paul Palucci from the decision of the Board of Assessment Appeals of the County of Delaware in connection with the property situated at 2801 Edgemont Avenue, bearing folio number 32-00-00379, relative again to the 2021, 2022, and 2023 tax assessment appeal. And whereas the approval of the proposed resolution is requested of the council prior to the execution of the agreement by the solicitor on behalf of the borough. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Borough Council of the Borough of Parkside, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, having been appraised of the contents of this agreement and stipulation reached by the solicitor and the other taxing authorities, does hereby approve its execution and delivery to the Court of Common Pleas of Delaware County, Pennsylvania. If it is the pleasure of Borough Council, a motion would be in order to approve this resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions?
How much is it gonna make this guy's taxes go up?
I'm sorry?
I was curious to how much it was gonna make his taxes go up.
I haven't figured out the actual numbers, but again, the Board of Assessments initially, and again, when every property in Delaware County was reassessed in 2020, right? Every property, whether it be commercial, industrial, residential property, was assessed. That church somehow was assessed at a value of almost $940,000.
They must not have gone inside.
Absolutely not. And then, of course, we know in 2019, the property owner purchased the church for a value of $133,000. And of course, then the Pendelco School District, in an appraisal report, came in at $330,000. And we were able to push up the taxpayer a little higher to $345,000. And obviously, that is what the County Board of Assessments has agreed to, the Pendelco School District has agreed to, and they are waiting on the final taxing authority, which of course is the Borough of Parkside, to agree to that figure.
Am I correct that this has been hanging around since November and that we were not informed that, so that we could have recalculated our property tax base?
It appears that this agreement was reached sometime in the latter part of 2022. That is correct.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Second on my agenda is the right to know law request. My office continues to work diligently with our borough secretary in responding to multiple right to know law requests, the optimum word being multiple, including we got one recently from the Philadelphia Inquirer seeking records and information on legal fees expended by the borough over the past 2 years. In addition to the borough secretary, I also want to recognize the borough treasurer with her professionalism and diligence in assisting me in obtaining those figures. So Ms. Stillwell, again, thank you very much. Third item on my agenda concerns 53 Park Valley Lane. And again, this property, again, pursuant to what the fire marshal indicated, the property sustained a fire loss back on March 25th of 2023. The borough has an ordinance on the books that requires insurance companies to place in escrow with the borough $2,000 of settlement funds for every $15,000 of property damage sustained. Again, if the total damage to the policyholder's home exceeds 60% of the policy limit. Now, the money is going to be held in reserve in escrow by our borough treasurer to ensure that the damaged property is properly repaired and not left in an undesirable condition. Sometimes we get a property owner that grabs the fire insurance proceeds and runs with the money and doesn't fix up the property. And then the property, of course, is an eyesore for the adjacent neighbors. So that is the whole purpose of that escrow ordinance, so that the borough has money to ensure that if the property owner doesn't fix up the property, at least the borough has some amount of money in reserve to restore and make repairs. Next item on my agenda concerns the property at 19 Beechwood Road. This property is zoned R1 Residential Zoning District. Now, back in 1993, the property owner obtained a variance, right, some 30 years ago, right, from the zoning hearing board to convert a single-family dwelling into a two-family duplex dwelling. Now, the property owner has resided on the first floor and utilized the second floor as a rental unit. The property owner, in effect, sealed off the first floor from the second floor, and the second floor unit was accessed through an external staircase. Now, the property owner now wishes to sell the property and convert it back to a single-family dwelling, which of course would be in compliance with the current zoning ordinance, reducing density on the block and also increasing the availability of on-street parking. Now, the property owner will be permitted to do so on the condition he obtains the necessary building permits and approvals from the building inspector. And I have been involved with the building inspector on this particular issue and project. Number 5 on my list concerns the villages of Greentree. Right? The homeowners association, I think, again, pursuant to what the engineer indicated, will be commencing shortly a project to repair its stormwater management culvert. The construction schedule, again, it's been delayed due to unforeseen circumstances. Last year, the borough, in fact, did receive from the Greentree Homeowners Association an escrow payment to reimburse the borough engineer for, of course, reviewing and evaluating those design plans related to the proposed work. 6th item on my agenda concerns the property at 2629 Parkside Terrace. The borough recently received notice from the Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs that the property owner is totally and permanently disabled as a result of service-connected causes incurred during a period of war or armed conflict. Accordingly, I have advised the borough tax collector that this property should be approved for exemption of all real estate taxes in compliance with Pennsylvania state law. Pennsylvania has passed a law that says, again, those in service of our country who have been totally or permanently disabled as a result of that war or armed conflict will be exempted from real estate property taxes in Pennsylvania for an owner-occupied residential dwelling. And that is precisely what we are doing here this evening. This gentleman, who may not wish to be publicly recognized, is truly one of Parkside's hometown heroes. 7, 2801 Edgemont Avenue. We're back to the church again, right? The borough has recently experienced some issues with work being performed at the property without the issuance of proper permits from the borough's building inspectors. This work includes the installation of a new heater new siding, and a new chairlift. I've been working with the building inspector, the mechanical inspector, and the ADA inspector to resolve those outstanding issues. 8 on my list is Pennsylvania proposed legislation affecting local municipal government. Part of my responsibilities as borough solicitor include advising borough council, the mayor, and the general public when new or proposed legislation affecting local municipal government is introduced in Harrisburg. This is one of those times. There are 2 pieces of legislation that have been recently introduced in the Pennsylvania General Assembly of particular note. One is an amendment to the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law regarding the advertisement of public notices. Current law requires local governments to publish notice of various board and council meetings, bidding requirements for purchases and contracts, legal notices, and official advertisement in print newspapers of general circulation, right? All those legal notices presently have to be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation. Well, of course, according to local municipal government, that mandate is expensive, it's inefficient, and of course was created before the internet changed the way people receive information. The proposed legislation would allow counties, would allow municipalities, would allow school districts to advertise public notices either electronically or in printed format by choosing from a menu of options. And we know today, most people receive their information on their phones, on their laptops, not necessarily in a newspaper. So this legislation is presently before Harrisburg. But of course, the print media, right, our newspapers, right, they of course are opposed to this legislation. Of course, much of their advertising revenue, we know, comes from, the print media and the legal advertising. So if the newspapers don't receive that type of revenue in the future, that may certainly upset their bottom line. Second piece of proposed legislation I will bring before council and the public, and also our police department, concerns a bill that would allow municipal police departments the ability to protect citizens using radar speed technology. Currently, the Pennsylvania Motor Vehicle Code limits the use of radar to the Pennsylvania State Police. Under the bill presently before the General Assembly, a local municipal police department, such as here in Parkside Borough, right, would be permitted to use radar contingent upon the following safeguards. And again, there's a lot of safeguards that are baked into this legislation. Number 1, a municipality would need to pass an ordinance authorizing the use of radar. Number 2, a municipality must install signs advertising the use of radar at the municipality's border, each end of Edgemont Avenue. 3, and this is important, collected revenue may not exceed the previous year's speed enforcement revenue by more than 1%.
Oh my goodness.
It can't be used to generate revenue for the local municipality. 4, local police officers would be required to complete a training course before use. 5, radar may only be used when the officer is in or adjacent to a clearly marked law enforcement vehicle. 6, no citation may be issued unless the driver is exceeding the posted speed limit by 10 miles per hour or more. 7, citations may not result in the issuance of points for auto insurance surcharges. And finally, 8, for the first 90 days of enforcement using radar, only written warnings may be issued. With these safeguards in place, there is, I think, a better possibility, a greater likelihood that this may pass the General Assembly and get to the governor's desk for signature. So that is something that we'll certainly be taking a look at.
What was the 1% thing again?
That basically says that the revenue, right, that one generates through fines, right?
For speeding.
Right, exactly.
Which we couldn't really bust people for because we didn't have radar before. So our
Yeah.
busting for speeding was 0, right?
So it can't exceed 1%. That's basically, and again, there are some concerns that some towns may wish to use radar as a source of revenue for the general fund.
And I understand that.
And the legislation that's before the General Assembly says that's not something that is possible or feasible under this proposed legislation. And with that, Madam President, I can report general progress.
Thank you very much.
A question for Mr. Wells. Since last year was a record-breaking right-to-know year, and it looks like we're headed into more this year, did the prior solicitor's firm turn over all prior right-to-know files? So we didn't have to repeat the research?
I do not presently have, all those files, but again, we are receiving multiple right-to-know law requests. I know
It's a shame.
keeping the borough secretary busy.
Does Tamika have those copies?
She has a file.
I don't have the lawyer's files. I have the letters that she attached to me and any documentation that was approved for the right to know and sent to the individual. So if you're talking about redacted information, I don't possess that information. That is with the lawyer.
So there's more information than what you have, okay.
Yes.
Well, we don't know that. We just know that she has what she has.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have come to our second call to citizen section. And please remember to be civil and not shout.
Okay. Hold on. My name is Sarah Powers. I live at 2626 Crozier Street. I have a couple questions for you. I would like to know why you keep coming after my dad. You keep questioning my dad about audits regarding the firehouse. You're not a member of the firehouse. And my dad does not have to answer to you unless it is borough council approved or needed for borough, for the council. 2, is there a reason why you have your friends questioning my dad, Kyle Palmer, and harassing him for information that they are legally not entitled to? And one last thing, my dad has been involved and my family has been involved with the Parkside Firehouse for the last 100 years. My family is the 5th generation of the firehouse. You keep coming after the firehouse and you are destroying the Ford family name. It makes you look like a fool. Everybody knows how much the firehouse is valued and how important it is. I've lived in Parkside for the last 18 years. I've been a volunteer at the firehouse. I've helped my dad clean the firehouse. I've done just about everything as well. The whole firehouse thing. I don't know why you feel the need to raise the taxes in the borough by bringing in another fire department. Every time that whistle blows, it's for someone in this borough. And that's all I have to say.
Well, she covered most of that basis that I was going to ask about, but then again, there's a couple other things. Rob comes under fire constantly. Man has nothing but class and integrity. Same thing with Nick. But you people on this council, and you know who you are, you keep going after those same people. And I don't understand why. what Nick has done for this borough, what Rob has done for this borough, it's always been good for the 31 years that I lived in. But seeing what I'm seeing now, I'm not sure I want to be in this borough anymore. It's not what it used to be because the people on this council, and you know who you are, have ruined this borough. You've created dissension, no unity left in the borough. And another person that came under attack too, she's dead and buried. Jackie File Barlow, who is my dear friend. She came under fire. She's not even here to defend herself. So when is it going to stop? When is the character assassinations? And when can we get back to what the unity was in this borough? And it's so divided right now. I've been away from it for a while because I've been caregiving. And you know what? Unfortunately, I could say that I didn't miss it. The friends that I have in the borough, I missed, but not all the damn problems there were. And I'll tell you, if we don't get back to it, what's going to happen is you're going to force people to move out of this borough. And maybe the few people in this council, you know who you are, you'll be living in the borough by yourself.
Mr. Slowick again. With the new police officers on, will that cover us so we don't have to have anybody else patrolling our sleeps? And when will that take effect?
Already done.
Okay, so we're not paying Brookhaven anymore.
Our contract with Upland ceased to exist on March 31st, and since that time, we have covered all the shifts.
Okay.
Minnie DiDomenico. With several meetings, Anna, you kept bringing up about Leah Caprianco asking for right to news.
I never said that.
You did, but we won't say it. But 13,
She just said it, not Anna.
but she did too.
No.
You could go back and look
I did not.
and go back and look in January's meeting, because that's where I found it. About the 13 right to news that she had sent in. Shirley had stated she was not the only one, that there was somebody else that's not here tonight, so I won't say names, but it's a friend of yours who has written more than that, and she is still writing right to news. Now she is writing more right to news for the firehouse. If you really want to get rid of the firehouse, why don't you do one shift, just one shift, and hopefully you catch a fire. I've been a member 30 years, Robbie's been a member 30 years, and I can tell you that firehouse has saved so many lives and so many homes in this borough. You don't want to get rid of them, but you seem to do. Anna, this is to you. I understand that you helped with the ethics board to go after a borough employee and a member, let me finish, and a member of council. Yous are supposed to be working together, and you're going after a councilman.
You're making an accusation about something that you don't know, and I'm not allowed to speak about that.
Yeah, okay. You don't ever answer us anyhow. Your silence gives us our true answer. You shouldn't have been involved in that audit because you were one of the ones who probably asked for that. Because you, and I can speak on this, you did break ethics and you got found guilty in the courthouse. And that's why you're not on the ballot. Am I correct? Yes, because I was involved in that. Thank you. The two gentlemen that you keep going after, why do you hate them so much? You are a very evil lady, but you can be a very nice lady at times.
Do you have anything borough business related?
This is, and you try to shut me down all the time. I'm not getting shut down. I have a right to speak. I have an opinion. So do you. When you first started on council, the big thing was unity, transparency. I haven't seen it, and I know a lot of us haven't seen it. And you don't tell, but your friends know. Because I know for a fact that you have given things to your friends that should not have been given to them. Because it is an ethics violation. It's also a sunshine violation. Yes, and I can repeat every one of them to you.
Oh, good.
Okay?
You have 3 minutes, though.
And I'm
you're
only-
a timer?
No, it's 10 minutes, and it's in the bylaws. It's in the bylaws, 10 minutes.
There are no bylaws.
There are no
Used to
bylaws.
be.
It's 3
It's 10 minutes.
Shirley has an egg timer. I'm sure we can.
There are no bylaws.
But my biggest concern,
Hurry up,
Is-
Shirley's notes.
these are my notes.
Okay.
So,
Given to you by Shirley.
no, given to me by Minnie. I don't need help like you guys do, because Anna gives you your information. That's it. Oh, I know for a fact. So get up there and speak.
I will get up there and speak. Hi, Judy Saunders. So I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I am, and I am going to call on Jackie Falbarlow. So this is what I'm going to do.
She
When
started.
I did Community Day for the first 3 years, when I did it for the 90th, when I did it for the 90th anniversary, because my husband was running as mayor, I was assigned a council member who demanded that I make agenda minutes, notes for everything that I sent. If I didn't have it within 24 hours, he would incessantly email me. Jackie Falbarlow did the parade route. She got all the classic cars for that 90th anniversary. She helped me every step of the way. I was working a 60-hour-a-week job. He was in New York. I had 2 small children, and I was one of the people that was running the PTO. I was overwhelmed to the point where I would cry when I would get an email from Jason telling me what I hadn't done right or what he needed me to do. So when I was done and I said, I'm done, take it over by rec committee. I am so out of this. Jackie Falbarlow came to my house. She knocked on my door. I was having a dinner party. I was actually going to bring my friends who are at the dinner party here tonight to sit there and say that she needed all my notes so that she could take over Community Day. And I told her, because I was so done, get everything that Jason has. Jason made me write notes, minutes, agenda items, every single step of the way, to the point that I was having panic attacks. And she said, he didn't keep any of those. That's not what they were for. So I went into the kitchen in the middle of a dinner party and started to cry. And my friend, my best friend, Candace, said, don't give them anything. They don't deserve anything the way they treated you. And I walked back into the living room with every intention of telling Jackie Falbarlow that she could go pound sand. And that gracious lady sat me down and said, this isn't about you. This is about the community. This is about the neighborhood. It isn't the petty bickering. It isn't who sits in that seat and who doesn't. This is about what we do for them, and they'll never thank us, and they won't know half of the work you put into it. And there'll be a bunch of people who will try to take it away from you every step of the way. But you and I will know that in this moment, when you could have been rude and cruel and mean and held it to your chest and not given it up, you did it for the community. She taught me that, because I would have been, in that moment, cruel and petty and mean. I had had it up to here. I felt like volunteering for this community was nothing but a kick in my teeth every single time I did it. Now I'm having screeds written about me how I bankrupted the rec committee. You want to speak on that? You want to ask how many receipts I spent on the rec committee as opposed to how much I donated? The makeup for the face painting, the candy for the candy bar, the prizes for the 4th of July, the flowers for the flower thing, the carnival games that all came out of my pocket. And supposedly I gave all those flowers away to only my friends after basically making the rec committee pay for it. Miss Percival, did you get a flower?
No.
You didn't get a thing of flowers. Kim, did you? Okay, Minnie, you took some. I didn't at any given point not be generous. I have never not. You know what? I'm a mental patient because I continue to give to this community. I went down and put flowers in the planters and then went like a little crazy elf and decorated the planters so that it looked cute for the Easter bunny thing. We're asking for unity. It has been since Democrats were elected to this board that it feels like all we do is try to fight and take them out. This is the group the electors, the people, the residents elected for you to work with. This is the team you were given. Work together. It is not fair. It is not fair. I am vilified all the time and I haven't done anything wrong. Jackie Fall Barlow was a class act and I've never said one goddamn word against her, ever. So there is no reason that I should be acting like my legacy has to be erased so that her legacy can continue. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. I'm asking you to come together and stop this shit. Sorry.
And you know how I feel. Same thing on this side of the aisle. I've donated my whole entire life to this borough.
Right,
I didn't live in this borough and donated my time to this borough.
I've lived here since my daughter was 9 months old. She's now 27.
I would like to address this issue because Mrs. Guy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Percival, I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
I have another thing. I donated to the fire department. You know I have. I want this fire department to continue and succeed. But to be fair, for 2 years, we have constantly been told that it is that the money is being misspent, or there's this person who isn't doing it, or we're not going to get the reports. Andrew basically came here and said, you should be grateful for us. We don't owe you anything. If you're spending our money, you should. If you're bringing the reports, Mr. Powers, I have faith in you. I honestly have faith in you. You know I do. I have faith in your fire department, and I want you to continue to exist.
I've run that fire company for around in 6 months, 360 degrees.
Right, and I appreciate that, but us asking questions after 2 years of malfeasance is not a tax. That is us saying, wait a second, it hasn't been right for 2 years, and how do we know to trust you? Because that board and that treasurer and that all happened while you were a member.
I wasn't a part of it.
Were you a member?
I was a member, yes.
Do you remember when you were in this thing and you said there was never an I dotted or T crossed that you didn't supervise?
When I was in an executive position, I was just a member.
Okay, so we want to give you the benefit of the doubt. We honestly do. But asking questions is not an attack.
It is close to leaving this borough. And that'll be the burden of this council to bring a fire company in here. And I don't know if you're reading what's happening in Chester. The Chester Fire Department's not coming in here, and Brookhaven's not doing it. So that leaves a big bill going to fill. And I just stated that 3 lives were saved in this borough in the last 3 months.
Right, and I
You can't put a
do not
price
take
on
me, I appreciate the volunteers at the fire department.
And-
I appreciate any volunteers for this
Okay,
neighborhood.
We need to wrap this up because it's almost 10 o'clock and we still have new business and old business. Any other citizens?
Excuse me, I'd like to address Ms. Saunders, and I'll keep it brief because I saw the look on your face when I started. Ms. Saunders, I have always appreciated everything you've done, and we've worked well. When this started, my issue was the newsletter. I cannot see Ms. Saunders. My issue was the newsletter in which it stated that you started the initial community day. That was incorrect. Mrs. Barlow was here in 1999. I started in 2001. We started that year to try to figure out the following year what to do because Brookhaven and some of the other communities were starting to put together a community day. It was myself
You're not being brief.
and several other members. And we did something very small. After that, Jackie had it for several years before she moved. You became involved. Mary Conlon was involved. I think she took it after Jackie. Thank you. After Mary, then Jason, and then we progressed. I will never discount how much you've given to this community, and I have thanked you along the way. I just want to make sure that the person who started Community Day is recognized, whether she's here living or not. That was my.
I'm perfectly fine
That was my
with
bottom
giving
line of
Jackie
this whole
Falbarlow the thing.
conversation.
I think what Kyle did is that she wrote the article based on newspapers when you were on the council, when you were vice president, when Mr. Dietman was here, and you named it the first annual one. When my husband came and said, hey, I think we should do a community day, you didn't say, wait a second, we already have one of those. You did not do that. It was named the first annual community day in multiple minutes. It was named the first annual community day in the newspaper, but who gives a shit? Who literally gives a shit? Jackie Ball Barlow was an amazing, energizing asset to this community. And right now, by all this bickering and who has what piece of the pie, we are disgracing her memory. You are disgracing her memory, not me. I have never once tried to take her thunder away. What she did putting together the 90th with me, because if that woman hadn't held my hand, I would have been in a fucking fetal position, sorry kids, in a fetal position crying. I was overwhelmed. And I was overwhelmed because you had somebody sick me on.
Sorry, it's been like 10, sorry. Some of it was Shirley, so, you know. All right, do we have any other citizens?
Michelle Skrovac. We've had a few residents start amazing things within our community that they wanted to bring to our community or take to a local food or clothing pantries as well. I wanted to see a food pantry started here in our borough and give something back to our residents or someone locally just needing an extra hand. Names have been called, but this wasn't started to take anything away from anyone else. We still donate things to local pantries, whether it's clothing, food, toys, or just a monetary donation. I wanted to let the residents know that our first opening date for the food pantry at the firehouse is this Saturday on April 22nd from 10 to 12 for our Parkside Pantry. No IDs are required. We have received an amazing response from our community and outside communities. I've received numerous emails asking for help. Actually received an email from someone who's at a hotel in Media, disabled, single mother, has her older mother living with her, asking for food. I am not going to turn away anybody that's going to come to me that's outside of Parkside. This is something that I want to see going forward. I'm not doing it because I'm running. It's not based on that. I'm tired of hearing that. This is something I've been wanting to see for a very long time. And I got asked, what do I want to bring to our community? This is what I'm bringing to our community. If anybody wants to help, help. I don't care what political affiliation you are, but I'm tired of hearing about why I'm doing it. This is why I'm doing it, because people are reaching out to us asking for help. Okay, I just got another email as I was standing out there and I was reading that, ready to answer. I would like to thank Parkside Fire Company because I went to them and asked them personally if they wanted to get involved. I didn't know how we were going to do, what we were going to do with this, whether it was going to be outside of my house, whether it was going to be in a closet somewhere, but I wanted to do something. So I went to the fire company, they opened doors. Yes, what do you need? What do you need? Closet. That's what I got. But it's growing past that. It's grown past that. I went to local business in Parkside. Hey, I went to Phil and Jim's, I went to Jeannie Beans, I went to Curly's. Every single one of them said, this is awesome. You're doing something right here in our town. Our name gets out there. Parkside's doing great and bigger things. This is what it's all about. I'm not asking for just one political affiliation to help me. I'm asking anyone if they want to help out. But I wanted to thank everyone that's been involved. The Parkside Republican Committee, Curly's Car Cure, again, Phil and Jim's. And I want to thank everybody for opening up their hearts, because I'm hearing from actually Jeannie Beans, Debbie, the owner, told me that someone from Chester came over. Other communities are coming over and dropping off food. I'm walking around talking to people. We're passing out the flyers, letting people know, because not everybody's on Facebook. So you do have to get out there and get the flyers out there for anything you do. Even junior council wanting to do things. Not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody's on social media. Some people are afraid to comment. So that's why I put that email out there if they wanted to respond to that. But I wanted to let everybody know, once we see how things go Saturday, we're going to throw out some more dates and take it from there. But if any of you guys have ideas, council members, anyone in the public, please feel free to email the parksidefooddrive@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to answer anything, any of your questions. Okay, thank you.
This question is for Robert Powers. I just wanted to know, with everything that's going on, like, how have you been doing, like, at home with the firehouse? How has this been affecting you?
Yeah, is this really a
Yeah, I
borough?
really don't want to
Thank you.
mix council business with firehouse business. They are a separate entity. But thank you for asking. We're trying. Every firehouse, and the chief is associated with a firehouse. He's also associated with Parkside. Every firehouse goes through Parks. It's all over the state. Volunteerism in Pennsylvania is down 700,000 volunteers in the volunteer system. So you're in fire school right now. You're away from your family Saturday, Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays for
Okay.
almost 10 weeks.
Now we move on.
So
Okay, this is for Anna Guy and Shirley Percival. How has communication been going between you two via email, since that has been an issue?
I guess we'll find it.
She's saying that because I filed a right to know requesting emails between Anna Guy and Shirley Percival. So that was a mean joke.
I have a legal question out to our solicitor before I respond to your email. To your right to know.
Thank you.
Yes, can personnel.
All right, going once, going twice. All right. Old business. Is there any old business, guys? It's almost 10. It's 10. Okay, no old business. New business. First item on here says motion to appoint solicitor.
I'm gonna make a motion to table that.
I'll second that.
Any questions? We have a motion to table. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. I believe, Ms. Percival, you put the next item on the agenda?
I did. I put a vote of no confidence on the table. I'd like to make a motion for a vote of no confidence for the lack of response with the president to emails, not keeping elected officials in tune of what's going on, and not being responsible on various issues that have fallen through the crack.
second.
So I find this completely out of order, okay?
Okay.
Mrs. President Guy was just reappointed in January or February, in January, okay? Like, when you were council president, there were countless votes to censure various council members. Like, you just gotta, I know you wanna be council president.
No,
okay?
I don't.
But you
Anybody's been told that.
just gotta live with the fact that this is the positions that we're gonna have on this council
Till the end of the year.
until the end of the year, and then there will be a new reorganization based on the results of the election. So
Mr.
I
Sidwell.
ask you to withdraw your motion.
Mr. Sidlow, Mrs. Guy has been president for a year, with the exception of 1 month. As I stated earlier, in August of last year, we could have had LED lights replacing the old sodium vapor as they went out. There's been numerous issues, and that's my concern.
Let's take a
And
vote.
if,
Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Roll call vote. Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Ms. Percival?
yes,
Mr. Bull?
Yes.
Mr. Swaggart?
No.
Mr. Costigan?
No.
Mr. Sidlow?
No.
And Madam Guy?
No.
Not passed.
thank you.
All right, that is the last thing on the agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn
Could you
until we,
please tell me before you adjourn, approximately how long the executive session is going to last and what is it, a general?
it's a personnel issue and it could be 15 minutes.
Thank you.
but it could be a lot longer at times. All right, so,
Is the
motion to
solicitor
adjourn.
be there?
Did it, yeah, go to boardroom.
All
All right, so moved.
I'm glad you announced that.